they're not on the same page as you, and they're not as willing to give up their thought process, and they're more selfish. It's nothing more important than the children.
How did you find time for you and your wife with four boys?
It was real rough, real rough. We had to come to the point of appreciating the time with the kids' activities and the things of that nature to find enjoyment in that and take it as us spending time with each other because we had to sacrifice a lot. I mean, we just now starting to do back like dating type things and things of that nature because with the full boys that money be so tight and you got the activities and then you got work, it was rough.
So we probably mentioned this before, but you had stated that it's got to be important to understand that you and her time has to be the time you spend with
Exactly.
the boys. In that
We had to learn to accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you had other people, friends and things of that nature. They were going out traveling, doing all types of stuff.
Was that an issue for you?
Oh, we definitely had to shut all of that type of stuff down. If it wasn't a family trip or something of that nature, we really didn't do it because we felt the importance was the children, and we had to make that sacrifice to hey, it's not a good decision for us to spend that money there.
How hard is that sacrifice?
Oh,
as a man, how hard was that sacrifice?
Very hard, very hard. And my wife definitely, they step in. Me, I'm like, nah, let's do it. Let's go. Nah, she had to step in plenty of times and be like, nah, I don't think that's a good decision or whatever. Okay. We need to do this, and then we'll get to that later. And then we tried to definitely keep some type of family trips involved so the kids could experience different things. So we would just put money aside because then they could see that it is another part to life.
Okay.
And enjoyment and things of that nature, but you got to work for it.
So, did it become at a point where, like, you guys were, celebrating the kids versus celebrating the time together?
Oh yeah. Their celebrations become our celebrations.
Okay.
If it was a graduation, hey, it would be a graduation / hey, come over adults and have fun with us. But it's like our friends had to learn to accept our kids as well because everything we did, it involved the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And you had to make the decision or whatever. If they didn't like it, then you had to move on because nothing was more important than our kids.
So what do you say to, I know there's some couples out there that may be dealing with this.
Yes.
Right? That aren't spending that much time together because of having kids. So what do you say to a lot of the couples out there that are dealing with this? How do you what are some things that you would give them based off the experiences to help them?
They definitely gotta look for the positives in the situation and try to, you'll be surprised. There's different things that you can do as a family that would involve everybody and everybody would enjoy it. It's different things like roller skating and bowling and activities like that. Okay. You can involve the kids and still have fun as an adult as well. So we took up stuff like going to the roller skating ring, going bowling, couple of activities. We would go to like plays and things of that nature.
Okay.
And it would involve the whole family.
Okay.
And you kept it to a point where it wasn't too expensive if you were kind of on a budget because we had full, so you really had to plan.
Yeah, you feeding the hood at this point.
You really had to plan for that.
So do you feel like my question I just lost the question, but do you feel like sometimes that that's such a misunderstanding in relationships, like your time with the kids is you and her time also. Do you feel like that's such an issue for some couples to where like they're not willing to do the sacrifice?
Yes, definitely,
Right?
definitely.
Yeah. And that, do you feel like that breaks up a lot of?
It does.
Okay.
It puts a lot of stress on certain relationships when you don't have that other partner that's kind of with the same mind frame as you. Because sometimes you have people that, like I say, they're not on the same page as you, and they're not as willing to give up their thought process, and they're more selfish. It's nothing more important than the children. Nothing. They didn't ask to be here. But it's your job as the parent to make them successful. So you have to bite the bullets for them so that they can be successful.
So what do you say to other men that are kind of going through that? What do you if you were to mentor someone that's going through that, you know, what would you say?
As far as the other partner not wanting to sacrifice?
Yeah. Because you mentioned earlier that like, man, I was the one that was, you know, out here working, sacrificing for the betterment of the family.
Yes.
But, you know, with so many words, my partner wasn't on the same page.
Yes.
You know, so what do you say? What do you say?
If you find somebody with that predicament, it's only but so much you're going to be able to do to change that
other
aspect.
person.
That you're not going to be able to. They're adult. They got their own mind, train of mind and thought. That you're not going to be able to change it. You're not. And what we did, like I said, luckily I had a partner that was willing to do the best and what was beneficial for the children, just like I was. It didn't make it hard for us to make certain decisions. But if you have a partner like that, you're going to have to, me personally, I'm choosing the child's, you know, future before I'm choosing that adult's future, because we both brought that child into the world. And for you not to want the betterment for that child, that's just not the type of person I want to be with.
So here's my question. So we spoke about if the partner is that person, what do you say to people who, the person who is that one, the one who isn't willing to sacrifice?
To the one that isn't willing to sacrifice, it's going to play out, and when it does play out, they're going to be hurt.
Okay.
They're going to be hurt.
Like somebody has to make a choice.
Yes, definitely. If there's no compromise there, that choice is going to have to be made. But the one that chooses not to be in that child's life or the betterment of that child, I've seen it firsthand, and from my heart, it's not going to end up well for that other parent that decides not to take on that responsibility.
Because there are situations where one partner is saying, I'm choosing to be a parent.
Yes.
But also stick it out for the betterment of the family.
Correct.
And sacrificing a lot of their wants and needs.
Yes.
For the children and the partner.
Yes.
To appease and accommodate the partner to at least, like, you know, don't go anywhere.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Don't stay.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that brings a different stress and strain to the relationship too.
Because you're trying to please both parties.
Yeah.
But in that time that you're doing that, you're losing time and positive progression with the child.
Not only that, it's almost like, you know, we spoke about it earlier, where it's like, you know, that other person isn't willing to sacrifice.
Correct.
Right?
And it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
But also, you also mentioned before that, you know, you as a man had to learn on the fly.
Yes.
So is it the fact that possibly that person isn't willing to learn either on the fly?
Definitely, they wouldn't be willing to learn on the fly if they're not willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because they're telling you, like we talked about earlier, your actions speak louder than your words. Yeah. So you gotta believe what they tell you. If they telling you they don't want to do that, you gotta take them for face value.
But I guess it also depends on you as a partner. We as men that make the choice knew this from the beginning.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I disagree somewhat.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's something, yeah, I know where you're going.
Because they're like, speaking me personally, like I am dating right now. Well, I'm trying to date. I
Gotcha.
I really got a life outside of work right now, which is something I need to change. But like we had this discussion a little bit earlier, but I'm in my mid 30s,
Yes.
so as of right now, anybody I date is either has kids or is on that clock. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this needs to happen early and quickly, and so there's not as much wiggle for room for me to like. We spoke earlier. I'm somebody who has said straight up, I'm not really interested in dating somebody with kids,
Yeah.
but that option is going away for me,
Exactly.
like real
Because
fast.
It's like the pick of the litter and things. That
Exactly. Like my window is narrowing. So if I go into a situation, like if I'm being honest with myself, yeah, I say that, but I also understand, we'll say 6 out of 10 times, the women, at least the women I'm interested in, they've already lived a
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And there may be children.
Yes.
There may be a parent to their child or something that I'm gonna have to deal with when I enter the situation. I'm aware of that. But then you have people like, I like dating older women, and it's like, okay, cool. You like dating older women, but you do know that older woman might have 2, 3, 4 kids if you decide that, and you can't just show up and not deal
Doesn't work like
with.
that. Yeah.
You can't
It
not
don't
deal
work
with
like that.
Junior because Junior's gonna be there, stare you
And
in
he
your
gonna be
face.
protective, like, who is this
Exactly.
guy?
Who
Yeah.
are you?
But I think this is the thing, though, right? And I'm glad you said that because I'm pretty sure a lot of men are probably voicing that same concern, right? So I guess a question for yourself is, I guess through the whole interview we're having, are you willing to learn on the fly?
Me, yeah, straight
Okay.
up. 'Cause, like, and it's a me thing personally, but I'm always willing to learn on the fly
Okay.
because, especially now, because before, I'd say when I was younger, I thought, oh, I needed to go into a situation knowing everything, and it kept
Yeah,
me
we all were
from
like that. Yeah.
entering situations because I was like, oh, I don't know that, so I'm a fall back, and then on top of that, my ego
Yeah.
kept
So,
me
yeah.
from. It's like they don't need to know that I don't know that, so I'm just not gonna put myself in that situation. Period.
Yeah.
But newsflash for the world, you ain't gonna know everything. There's no
you're
way.
not. And we talked about this briefly when you had stepped off. I'm glad y'all brought me here on this topic because a lot of people don't put this positivity out here and this knowledge for us brothers to learn from.
Yeah.
And also females too, so they can get that inside look
Yeah.
on what we really, going through and what we feel.
Yeah.
And Ecko brought it right to the point. And I said, I don't know what it is that's stopping us from, helping each other and spreading the word. And he nailed it. It's ego.
Yeah.
It's the male ego on why you can't put your story out there or feel vulnerable enough to put it out there so that somebody else can benefit from it.
Yeah, and it's almost been characterized as weak.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
Like,
It's, yeah, that masculinity, ego
masculinity
type.
to
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like women are helping each other all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's such a weakness for men to help other men.
Yes.
Right? It's almost taught as if men are supposed to know what to do and they'll do it themselves.
There you go.
Fail
There you
over
go.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I mean, I've even when we were speaking with SEALs, I
Yeah.
told you I got into not like got into, but like I was watching some red pill stuff. The loud red pill stuff. And one of the things that somebody mentioned was like, no man wants to take care of another child's kid, and
Yeah,
it's like
that-
that's not true.
yeah.
It's like we're providers naturally. Like
There you
we know that. So like I'm pretty sure, yes, there's certain aspects of us where like if a child walked in right now, we'd be like, that's not my kid. I don't want to step on nobody's toes. But after a while it's just like, yo, are you okay? Like, why are you down here? Are you okay? Do you need anything? Like, how
You gotta accept it.
It's-
how they say back in the day, is the horse in the room, so to speak, that you're gonna have to address it.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Exactly.
So do you feel like they don't want to address it, like potentially dating a woman or dating a man with a child because they don't want to prepare for it?
I can
Yeah.
say personally, like, one of my biggest fears personally is that I would ever do anything to harm a child, even unintentionally.
Correct.
Right. So if I see the kid is like, hey, you have a child, you guys are doing okay, I'm gonna fall back because I don't know
The process.
I don't know the
Or
process. I don't know the
household.
situation.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't want to step in and do anything that could negatively affect a
That-
child.
or the relationship.
Or the relationship just because I'm trying to insert myself
There you
into
go.
it.
Yeah, but okay, but I guess, and I'll go to the next topic in a second here. But inserting yourself in the situation, right, is almost preparing for the situation.
Yeah.
Right? Preparing yourself because when he had the child, he had to prepare.
I mean,
not only for the child but for his partner.
but I agree and disagree though.
Okay.
So the part where I agree is like sometimes you just got to jump in. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's gonna be a leap of faith.
But you
regardless.
gotta know with that other partner that is your that they want your
Exactly,
jumping.
exactly. So
they
that's
gotta want your jumping.
Exactly,
You jump
you know.
in, it could end everything.
exactly. There's some stuff you ain't got no business jumping
Jumping
into.
into.
That's true.
You gotta have that okay, like they waving you on landing that plane or whatever, saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
it's okay for you to jump in." And that took me a minute before.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what you said, like you had mentioned earlier, like anything that's hard
Yes.
or takes work
There you go.
to get to,
Yeah.
it's usually a good thing.
Yes.
Mhm.
So it's almost like preparation is almost like preparing for something is like you got to work at it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we go back to where men say they don't want that responsibility. It can borderline be, depending on how the partner is, how are they with children, how many children you have,
Correct.
how did it come across,
Correct. 'Cause
all those things play a factor, right?
You don't want to, and I think nowadays what's happening, most of the men are choosing not to go into the situation because it's like cold red. It's like, I mean, I'm telling you, there's some situations just straight out bad where there's no control.
No control,
And
yeah.
Once the kids are at a certain age, it's like you can't break them out of certain things.
Mhm.
It's just impossible.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe that's the case now that we're older. That's what we're jumping into. That's making everybody run away from it.
So the next part, is a very good chapter, your last chapter, letting the birdie fly.
Yes.
Right? One of your quotes was understanding their failures and letting them leave the nest.
Yes.
Right? So kind of explain that. You kind of go into a notion of, letting them do it, letting them fail, but
Yes.
you gotta own it.
Yeah. And
Kind of explain that a little bit for us.
it's definitely very hard sitting back seeing someone that you love fail.
Okay.
You want to protect them from everything, but you can't.
Mhm.
So my wife was kind of the advocate on this, and she kind of got me more up to speed because I kind of, even though she was the nurturer, I kind of like to jump in before they messed up and be like, "Hey, no, don't do that because this is gonna end up."
Yeah.
She like, "Babe, you can't do that. You gotta let them do it on their own, so that they can find out for themselves." But I'd be like, "But nah, babe, they gonna end up doing this, and then they gonna have to backtrack." She's like, "Leave it alone."
It's funny you mentioned that. That's how
It's
we are
hard.
as men.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Uh-huh.
It's hard. It's very hard, and that's another problem that I have.
Oh no! I mean, even for like right now, I'm not a father.
Yeah.
But like I'm senior at my job.
Yeah.
So
Same
one of the
thing, same
things that I'll
aspect.
do is like, oh, he working on. You know what? Back. Let me.
Yeah,
You
'cause
know,
you're
I
always
got
supposed to
exactly. It's like that's about to go all the way left. Let's.
Not only that, or just wanting to take on a new idea. Like you have an
Yeah.
idea, you just want to go. Like me, I'm just going. Like I don't care. I saw what how it's done, I want to do it.
Correct. Because you know it's going to be right, and you can skip past the part where that mess up takes place.
Correct.
But it's like you got to let it play out.
But sometimes we always got to backtrack.
And I'm glad that my wife stepped in during those times because it taught them lessons now where it's not as devastating than if they would make those wrong choices now as adults, because it would be a bigger setback.
And I'm glad you said that, right? That's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Right? For your wife to step in.
Yeah.
And to say, it's almost borderline saying, hey, you're doing this wrong.
Wrong. Yeah. And you know,
and you know how
that
much
ego,
that
ego comes back into that ego.
It's like, what you mean I'm wrong? Nah, because this is, exactly.
And it can somewhat crush our ego.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It can really crush it to a point where it's like,
yeah.
You know,
like,
what are you trying to say about me?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the hardest lessons I had to learn was sometimes you can do everything right and still fail.
Correct.
And bruh, it hurts.
It does.
Yeah.
It hurt. And not even from an ego perspective. It's just from from a personal investment perspective.
That's
it's
when
like
you look at it.
I put in so much work on this.
Yeah.
And it still blew up. Like how does
and I think that's the reason why people scare away from relationships. Because they don't want it to fail.
Okay.
They go into it with like a perfect mindset of how they want it to be and play out.
Okay.
And then when it doesn't play out the way they want it to play out, it's kind of like you go back and think to yourself, how did this not play out right?
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta realize that it's no perfect way to, approach the situation. It's just that if it's right, then it's right. You'll know it's right.
I will add something to that. I feel like sometimes we do go into relationships wanting it to be right.
Correct.
So we force it to
Yeah,
try to be
and
right.
that's kind of what causes that issue of that failure.
Mm-hmm.
But the relationships that are right, we feel it's right, but our mindset feels this ain't the right place.
There you go.
We don't deserve, as a man, we don't deserve to be here. We don't deserve this.
Correct.
We don't belong here.
And we don't recognize it.
Yeah.
Correct. Until it's gone.
Yeah, like we don't recognize like, yo,
late.
this is cause and we've had this conversation before, and I'm sure you've had this conversation with folks as well. Like we don't know how to do, like, nobody tells you how a relationship is supposed to look.
Yeah.
So you just go through and do the best you can in whatever situation.
Yep.
And then by the time you realize, oh, this is the right, by that time you done already cheated, left.
Yeah. And you did all the strikes in the road. And it's like, damn, the roadmap was right here for me to do it. Right. And the thing about the female will tell you, they give you so many like hits along the way. And us as males, we kind of don't leave those breadcrumbs and trails. We kind of let it go, and then just explode and be like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's our manhood, our ego, so to speak.
Oh, we holding in.
Yeah, and we got to communicate that. We got to learn to communicate that better. It is.
I'll tell you right now from experience, right? You know why it's hard to communicate? And I figured this out just now because disagreements happen, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We say you got to communicate, right? And, for example, my wife will ask me, okay, give me an example. The treacherous question.
Yeah.
The treacherous question. Give me an example.
Yeah, if you put it out there and it just go left.
It goes left. But the thing is that I can't give an example. Right? I can't articulate the example. But this is the catch. This is the thing, right? This is the catch. When it happens and you say, there's the example.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't want to have to point out the example.
Correct. Because you feel as though they should already know it.
But
Correct.
you know what the funny thing is? You know what the
Trust me.
And I
women
thought,
do the same thing. They do the exact same thing.
They be
Exactly.
like, you should know.
You should know. You should know.
The thing is, I thought it was me.
No.
Nah,
I
it's
thought it was just me. I didn't
Nah.
know a lot of men go through this.
and this is why
That's it.
part of what I say all the time is like it's not a woman thing, it's not a man, it's a people thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If something not going right or somebody bad or something, you should know.
And it's
that's
funny.
That's the key jump.
And it's funny, and I'll tell you a quick story, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the very first time I met him,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is when I knew me and him were going to be good friends, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, within the first 10 minutes, we talked about the Wizards, we talked about the Commanders. And then, you know, I like to talk about, you know, like we talk here,
Yeah.
age, people,
Everything.
advice,
Yeah.
on relationships
Yep.
and marriage.
Yeah.
You know, so I and this is when I first got married. We had been married a long time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, bruh. I was like, man, you know, I asked him how long he's been married.
Yeah.
You know, he's telling us our in-depth story right now. And I was like, man, you know, are you going through this? And, you know, it's hard as men to tell
To
another
talk to
man,
each
Yeah.
other and
talk about
communicate.
it.
Yeah.
'Cause
But
we
we
don't wanna
got
feel,
to.
we don't want to feel judged.
We
Yeah.
got to.
So I was
We
just
have
like,
to.
man, he just had this aura, this personality. Let me let him know.
Yeah.
Let me see what his answer is. This will tell me if I can we can be cool. We can
Cool.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what his answer was? He's
Mhm.
like, bruh, I've been dealing with it.
My entire
He was like,
we
he dapped me out.
we said we turned into Celia all of a sudden. All my life.
You got time to talk.
Yeah, I got a whole list for you.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
put it all down
Yeah,
for you.
and it reminded me, I was like, and it just went through it again. He was like, bruh, he was like, I've been through that.
Yeah.
And just imagine the countless men that are
Going through
this,
that, but they don't
and not
communicate and
saying
talk.
anything.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like we as men have to communicate.
Communicate.
Right?
We can learn from each other.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, it's harder to communicate with your partner,
It is. It
but
is.
even more difficult
'Cause
to
you-
communicate with your brothers.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
You scared that she might take it a certain way.
Yeah.
And with a male talking to another male, you afraid of the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody saying you soft or something like that.
Yeah.
But you can learn from that other brother. We just gotta learn how to communicate.
Yeah.
So funny story about that. Like there's this dude on this other dude on YouTube who I told you about, FD Signifier, right? And he was talking about some of the red pill stuff and all of that other stuff.
Yeah.
And he's talking about this one dude, and I've forgotten his name, and I'll if I find it I'll let you know. Yeah. But there's this kid who he was a younger dude. And he started off on YouTube doing all this like artistic stuff, all this like philosophical stuff, all of that type of stuff. And then he went on a show and did an interview. And, you know, like I said, he's a more artsy kid, a more like in touch with his feelings, all type of stuff. And he was talking about how he and his partner at the time, they started like they went to a swingers party.
Okay.
Right. And how he participated, and it was something that actually brought them closer together for a second. And he got clowned like by the two people who were interviewing him. And you could literally see on his face how it was just like, I was trying to share this with y'all as something that, you know, helped.
Yeah, to help
and,
you. Yeah,
and
so
now
they can learn from it.
so y'all, and now I'm basically getting dogged out.
Yeah.
And now a couple years later, he's a red pill dude. He's on the internet talking about how, you know, women ain't nothing, you know, they don't know any better, all this stuff. And it's like, yo, this is like 2-3 years ago you weren't on this. So what happened?
Yeah.
And
You feel like we as men were turning other men into
oh yeah, we
But
do it to each other.
Correct. Yeah. And you notice that when you see that, all of the type of men that hang around each other, they all portraying the same thing because that's what they've been fed through their little circle.
They're also saying the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta know to step away from those circles, like my mother always used to say, the bad association spoils useful habits. If you keep
I
on
like
letting
that.
them feed that in your head,
Put that on a t-shirt.
that's
That's
what
dope.
that's what they say.
Yep.
And it's like it's eventually gonna affect you. Cause I know with me and my wife's relationship, as we got closer, when we first met, I had a lot of single friends.
Mhm.
And she did as well. But what we noticed as we got longer down the line and married 2-3 years, we had to let those friends go. Because those friends wasn't doing the same things that we were. We had to, we weren't on the same page. So we had to find couples that were doing and implementing the same things we were in order for us to survive. Because that's one thing I can tell you, Ecko, when you get in that relationship, you gonna have to let the single friends go, because they gonna keep you in trouble.
Hey, I mean, I won't lie. There have been a couple times where I've been the single friend trying to get some folks in trouble. So I ain't, I ain't gonna lie.
But that's the way it works.
Like, oh yeah, come out to the club, man. We ain't, we just get a couple drinks. We'll be cool.
End up on hangover party.
So my last question is I want to kind of speak about today.
Yes.
Right. Father, husband, and now you an author. Now you've become you can even say the ideal career man.
Yes.
Right. Kind of explain that journey. Right.
Yeah.
Kind of let people know, man, you didn't do that in 10 minutes.
Oh no. This started, and I say to this day, my son pushed me here.
Okay.
My firstborn. Okay. He turned me into a man, and I tell him this all the time. And I told them in the book or whatever, my sons made me a better man. I felt as though I was a man before, but I wasn't. Okay. Once I accepted all of those responsibilities, that's what made me a man. So once he was born, it pushed me into that career stage early. Okay. It wasn't no time to be able to play around, so I was pushed into that, and he needed benefits and things of that nature, so I had to get in that workforce early. So end up retiring from UPS, and I did 22 years there. But what I learned there at UPS, and it helped me and it helped my kids through their life as well, time is money. Every minute isn't promised, but every second can turn into a bigger minute if you let it progress without stunting the growth. So you kind of just got to grow with it and not get discouraged and stop. So from there, learning that from that stage, I decided to do my own thing. Started a business from there, mobile detailing business, Clean Concepts Mobile Detailing. And from there, it put me into that entrepreneurship because I found a way where I could spend more time with my family and provide for them in the same time and have control of that time, which made my family a better unity. And it just pushed me, and I push that for everybody now. Everybody should go into that entrepreneurship. You work for somebody, is take what you can away from them and build your own on their dime. And you gotta get what you can from them so that you can be what you were meant to be. All of us have talents. Y'all bringing me here today. This is y'all talent. Y'all putting it out to the world. For them to get these jewels that's being dropped. And these topics y'all talking about, people nowadays only want to put the naked girls and the shaking the booties and stuff like that on because this type of stuff here don't get no airplay. But this is the type of stuff that needs to be promoted, and this what y'all doing. So I appreciate y'all for that.
We appreciate you coming, man. We appreciate you. So I want to kind of go into our last topic, our last thing of what we call
before we do that, not to interrupt, but you touched on it a little bit. but I want to get your thoughts on, because you talked about you're an entrepreneur now. You're being a father made you a better man. A better partner. All this type of stuff. So my question for you then is, do you think, because you've spoken about how you raised your children,
Yes.
but you haven't really gone into how you were raised. So my question to you is, the things you're instilling in your children, is that stuff that was instilled into you, one? And then number two, do you think the fact that these things that you are instilling, the choices have consequences, the what's it called, the stepping into manhood, do you think the lack of that is part of why the dating scene is in the state that it's in, or the world is in the state that it's in?
Yeah, you touched on some good questions there. For that first question, definitely the way that I was raised, it had a lot to do with how I was like accepted that responsibility of being a man. By me having my father there as well as my mother, my father, he showed me what a man is supposed to do. He showed me that you're supposed to provide for your family. And that today is missing from a lot of youth. And that's why I think we in a predicament that we in now, as far as the youth being so lost. And that trickles down to the dating game because of the fact you got males that are in the dating pool now that aren't prepared one bit from their household. One, because the fathers are missing. They're either in jail, dead, or just stepped away from the situation and absent. It puts an effect on that whole cycle of teaching men to be men. Yeah. And a lot of people are not like me and going to accept the fact of taking care of someone else's child in a new relationship, or accepting that responsibility to get him to where he needs to go. Okay. So they just get left behind. Yeah. And you can see the effect that it's causing on the community now.
Repeating the cycle.
Yes. Yeah. And the only way to break that cycle is to put the value back into the family, where you need that mother and that father. Yeah. Because that's not the way the system wants it to be set up. Yeah. The system doesn't want that father to be there.
Correct. The system now has seemed to help the mother more.
Yes. They push the father out of the picture.
Push the father out of the picture, but also push it to where, I do believe in child support.
Yes, of course. Yeah. That pushes the father away, telling him he can't see his child.
Correct.
But you gonna pay this month.
Correct.
How does that work when you telling a man he can't see his child, but you want him to pay this month?
And now they've made it to where, in my opinion, my disagreement on child support is that it's almost delegated to where you're paying for the lifestyle of the woman to provide to the child.
Because it doesn't
not the other way around.
Yeah, it doesn't benefit
the father
that child.
To provide for the child, but to provide a lifestyle for the mother to provide to the child.
Yes. And it's still not giving that child what he needs.
Correct.
No amount of money in the world gonna be able to give that child what he needs.
Correct.
And it's sad to see it take place.
Mm-hmm. So where do you see, as far as like you touched on, your son's biological mother.
Yes.
Right. Not agreeing with how your wife now was raising your son. Right. So how do you view? Let's take it even a different step. Single mothers.
Yes.
That have children with another father.
Uh-huh.
Right. What are your thoughts on that man coming into that situation you did?
Yes.
Right.
It's definitely hard to do.
Okay.
And my situation, when I stepped into it, out of respect for another male, I wanted to meet and introduce myself to this other man. which was his fault.
Oh, so you did? Okay.
Definitely.
Wow.
That's the
Okay.
way I stepped to it, because
Okay.
it's like the aspect of it is, to me, in the way I came up, from where I came up, is you gotta respect a man. A man is like, that's just in our ego. Once you show that respect, you get that same respect back normally when you're dealing with a mature male. In most cases, I've seen that be the outcome. In my situation, when I reached out to him, he gave me the respect that I required, but he did not do anything to change being in his child's life. It's like, it was sad to see him call and tell him he was going to take him to the movies, and then he's sitting in the window all day waiting for his father to come take him to the movie. That's just where I had to draw the line, and I just cut ties with trying to get him to be involved with his child's life. And it's like, from that day when that happened, I told myself I had to do what I could do to make this young man successful. Yeah, and it's like,
minus his father being
correct,
okay.
correct, because he didn't want to accept that responsibility.
So what do you say to those couples that are dealing with that, right? Because that could be an issue, right?
Yeah,
So
it definitely does cause issues.
That what we would call that new partner coming into the mother, or vice versa.
Vice versa, correct.
You gotta have some type of relationship.
Yes, it has to be. It has to be a general relationship between those outside parties, not in the household, so that everything can work. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
So did you find yourself somewhat, resenting his father because of some of the
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely many times or whatever, where I would just want to pick up the phone and call him up. And just give him a piece of my mind from his son sitting here crying about him not picking him up. But like I said, kids are smart. Eventually, they're gonna make their own opinion on the situation.
So you had to let him kind of come to that realization.
And he came to the realization, and you can ask him to this day. Shout out to Andrea Blackstone, who did the article in the Baltimore Times. She interviewed all the kids. And to see my son in there say that the relationship that he had with me made him a better person, even though he didn't agree on it when it was going on, he understand why we bumped heads. But now he has his son, and to see him instill those same values that I instilled in him into his son, it is amazing. And that's where that cycle has to, continue and take place.
Yeah, because it's fathers raising fathers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a very uncomfortable situation. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy.
Because it can ruin your household.
It can. It can ruin your household, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to be willing to put in that time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to do what's best for the child, and keeping a healthy, situation and environment, because that's in the book as well. You want to keep that healthy environment so that you don't affect their mental state.
Yeah.
So I've to shift it a little bit, and this is because it's a fear of mine.
Yes.
So, did you ever run into issues where your son basically told you, well, you're not my father?
Oh, yeah.
Because I know for me, and I've straight up said this, the second you tell me that, okay, bet.
I know you spoke about that.
And you gotta look at it as them being younger and immature, and not take it to heart, so to speak. Because
that's hard not to take personally.
It is, because I love that dude from head to the top. But he couldn't see that yet. Okay. But he would get mad in his feelings all the time, and be like, "You're not my dad." And it's like, he wouldn't even he would call me by my first name. He'd be like, "Duane, can I have this?" When we all through that situation or whatever, because it's not that he didn't respect me. Is, I guess, the situation, the way he saw it was like in those younger eyes and days, he didn't want to put a title on it. And I don't know if that's because he was hurt from his real father or whether he didn't want to be, disappointed by starting to call me dad and then I'm done. So, but we had a best of relationship now. He 27. It's like, it's like I see him implementing the stuff I told him. It's nothing like it. But that definitely it hurt and it was a fear. Yeah. It took my son, matter of fact, a while to start calling my wife mom. It was like he would always call her Tasha. And it took time.
Okay.
But it's like now as they've grown, they understand. And there's certain things you don't want to put on a child to have to, comprehend. As far as making it hard and emotional, as far as a choice they need to make. No, you need to call me this. It's like they have to grow into that situation just like you and the mother or the father that's dating have to grow into the situation. So yeah, when the time comes, it definitely, you'll see the joyous occasion for it.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So, as you may know, we have a series, a section, kind of at the end of our interviews called the Wrap It Up session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that pretty much, gives our guests 3 to 5 minutes to, give them gems, let them know, how they can find you, what's next for Duane Bumpass. So we call that our Wrap It Up series.
Yes, sir.
Wrap It Up session. You got the floor, sir.
All right. Like I said, I appreciate y'all having me here.
Yeah.
It helps me get my voice and my blueprint and the importance that I'm trying to put on our race and our community.
Yeah.
That we have to do better.
Yeah.
We have to accept responsibility in raising our offsprings to do better. If we don't, we will continue to fail and fail and fail and fail. So we need gentlemen like you, Philasophikal, Ecko, to continue doing what y'all doing so that the positivity can continue to get out. And we need people like Andrea Blackstone, Baltimore Times, for doing the article, which put me in touch to give me the light for y'all to see. And y'all appreciated what I was doing. And we're here today spreading that word.
Yeah.
And what's coming up next? I have a couple of events in the making where I'm going to speak at a couple of schools.
Okay.
To the parents and things of that nature, for them to come out and get the book as well, but to also learn, like we talked about, hearing somebody else be vulnerable and answering their questions and telling them about what you went through. It kind of eases the situation for them to want to do it as well or know that it can be done. Yeah, that's real big on me. And you, if you're interested in getting the book, How I Raised 4 Successful Black Sons, you can go to my Instagram, Bump Easy at 77, and you can get it there if you want a signed copy, or you can get it at Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, whatever outlet you choose. But it's definitely a good blueprint that has been put out there for everyone to learn from.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Like I said, his link to his book will be down in the description. Website will be down there. Make sure you guys go out and pick up this book. Also here in the DMV area, make sure you guys support him. How I Raised 4 Successful Black Sons, amazing book. Make sure you guys, again, like, share, subscribe. The book will be down in the description. Also follow him on Instagram. Also follow him on TikTok, man. I tell you this guy. This guy's skits and things he puts up on there are hilarious. Man, you would think TikTok was another comedian, another person. I always joke with him and say he should probably go into stand-up also.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys follow him. TikTok's the same thing, right?
Yeah, Bump
Okay.
Easy 77.
Yeah. Make sure you guys follow him. You know, make sure you follow his Instagram. His Instagram versus TikTok is two different people.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gotta have that business aspect and then that entertainment.
Gotcha. Yep.
You gotta laugh to live. That's the way it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Really appreciate you guys. I am Philosophical from the Let's Rock Podcast.
And I'm Jay Ecko.
We are out. Peace.
Take it easy, y'all.
Man, appreciate you guys having me. Shout out to y'all, man. And yeah, I'm happy to be here, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, man. You guys are doing amazing things.
Good, man. We doing good. I see you guys looking great.
Well, I appreciate y'all for having me out, taking y'all time, and promoting positive Black image.